Okay, now let us see how to prove this. So for that, as I told you while explaining Gauss's law, you will be considering an arbitrary closed path. So let me first consider an arbitrary closed path. Okay, now this arbitrary closed path is enclosing a charge plus q at an arbitrary position. So it doesn't matter where my charge is residing inside the enclosed surface also. So these two things, okay, is very clear. So I can generalize both. Okay, now what I need to do is I should be able to find what are the total electric flux lines coming out of this closed surface, right? So electric flux lines will be coming throughout the surface, but for explanation purpose I will be considering a portion of the surface. Okay, so maybe this portion of the surface. Now this is ds, right? This portion of the surface. So from plus q I will draw two lines to this to get a feeling that okay, this is a cone of a structure. Like from plus q you are projected onto the surface of the closed surface. Okay, so I will mark some point here P. Okay, on the surface I will draw d vector. D vector. What is d vector? Electric flux density. So this d vector indicates the total flux lines coming out of this small surface ds. Okay, this is small surface ds. So the total electric flux coming out through this small surface is now represented by capital D vector. Let us consider that. Okay, so this is my d, I will write it. So ds vector. So this is my small surface ds vector. Okay, now the moment we consider ds vector, I should also consider its direction. So this surface, this small differential surface ds is held normal to the considered arbitrary surface. So I notate it by a n cap. Is that fine? Okay, now since this is a n cap, I consider the unit vector, in the sense the direction of d vector as some ar cap. What is this ar cap? Yeah, ar cap represents the direction of d vector. And why I am using suffix r? Because I can consider the distance from q to the point P as a small r. Okay, if this is my point P, I can consider this distance as a small r. If it was a sphere, then it will be radius of the sphere. If it was a circular structure, it should have been radius of that circular structure. But since we have taken an arbitrary shape, I say that the distance, okay, the imaginary distance between charge and that point P on the surface is small r, and my d vector will be in the same direction. So I represent it as ar cap. Is this diagram fine? Okay. Now let me consider the angle between ar cap and an cap as some theta. Okay, just represent the angle between an cap and ar cap as theta. So these are the things you should remember before starting the derivation. I hope this is fine. Okay, now I start. Okay, I am trying to prove Gauss's law. So I will start with definition of electric field intensity. Then I will take that electric field intensity to d vector idea. Then we will try to find what is this d vector, because what I need is d vector, right? Basically what I am trying to find is d vector or psi. What is psi? The total flux lines coming out of this entire surface. So now we have taken a small surface. First let us try to find a mathematical expression for how much flux lines are coming out of this small surface. Then we can easily draw so many ds and extend it throughout the surface. So we have mathematical trick for that. What is that mathematical trick? It is integration. So you have this small ds, so ds will be infinitely small surface areas throughout the surface. So I can integrate them to get the total flux. So first let me find what is the total flux coming out of this small surface. For that I have to compute d vector. To compute d vector, what I do initially is I try to write expression for E vector. Okay, I try to write expression for E vector. Okay, what is E vector? Electric field intensity. So what is electric field intensity at a point due to a charge Q? Yeah, so it was well explained to you in beforehand. Okay, so you can watch my previous videos if you are not clear about this. So it is given by Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square in free medium, right? AR cap means in free air, because epsilon r becomes 1. Okay, so let us consider that whatever I am doing is on a plane of paper in free air. Okay, so what I mean is, obviously we are doing it on a plane of paper. Let us consider this entire structure is lying in free air, okay, or vacuum or free air, where epsilon r is 1. Okay, that's the idea. So I get electric field intensity as Q divided by 4 pi epsilon r square AR cap. This expression is very clear. Okay, now you should remember the relation that electric flux density is epsilon naught of electric field intensity. Okay, if you need, I can prove this, okay, but I will do it in my next video. Okay, next video, but you please remember this relation that D vector is epsilon E. So what I do is, now I calculate D vector. So D vector is epsilon naught of E. What is E? Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square AR cap. And now you can see here, this epsilon naught and this epsilon naught can be cancelled. So I get my D vector as Q divided by 4 pi r square AR cap. So I get an expression for D vector. See here, initially I was not having any idea what would be this D vector. Now mathematically I know that D vector is Q divided by 4 pi r square AR cap, or the magnitude of D vector is nothing but Q divided by 4 pi r square, but that is in general, that is at that particular point, but I need it for the entire surface. This representation of D vector was done for a particular point, so I need to extend this mathematical expression for entire surface, that is that infinitely small surface ds. Getting? Because I started deriving from E vector equal to Q by 4 pi r square AR cap. What is this? This is electric field intensity due to charge Q at a point P. So from that, when I derive, I get an expression for D vector. So this is good enough for calculating flux density at a point. Okay, now I have drawn a figure telling you that, ensuring you that we will find what is the total flux coming out of a small surface ds. So I need to extend this idea to ds. So how I am going to extend that idea to ds? Let us see that. Okay, so we already know that, okay, d is Q by 4 pi r square AR cap, but we also know, what is D vector? By definition, okay, just from definition, we know that D vector is psi by s. Okay, for small area, it is nothing but d psi by ds vector. We have also seen that ds vector can be written as ds an cap. Okay, so from this, can you write an expression for d psi? So see, now I have D vector as Q by 4 pi r square AR cap, and I have D vector as d psi by ds an cap. So my intention is not to find D vector, my intention is to find flux, total flux. Flux is represented by psi. So from this expression, let us try to take what is d psi. Okay, let us try to take what is d psi. So what is d psi? D psi is nothing but D vector ds an cap. Yes or no? Now what I do is, for this D vector, I will substitute Q divided by 4 pi r square AR cap. Okay, so if you substitute that, what we get is d psi is equal to D vector is Q divided by 4 pi r square, Q divided by 4 pi r square AR cap I write AR cap dot AN cap ds, because I can write ds AN cap as AN cap ds also. Okay, so I get d psi equal to q by 4 pi r square AR cap AN cap ds. Now look at the figure. What is this AR cap dot AN cap? If you look at the figure, what is AR cap dot AN cap? So they are separated by an angle theta, which is the smallest angle between those two. So the AN cap and AR cap are unit vectors. So they are separated by an angle theta. So I will use the definition of dot product here. So what is AR cap dot AN cap? AR cap dot AN cap is magnitude of AR cap, magnitude of AN cap, right? Cos theta, cosine of smallest angle between them. So this AR cap dot AN cap, AR cap dot AN cap will be equal to cos theta. I hope this is very clear. Okay, AR cap dot AN cap will be equal to cos theta. So substituting that here, I get my d psi as q divided by 4 pi r square cos theta ds. Okay, I get it as q by 4 pi r square cos theta ds. So I can rearrange this to write q by 4 pi, q divided by 4 pi ds cos theta by r square. I just rearrange it to write it in a better form. Okay, so now this is d psi. You know that this is d psi, but what I am looking for? I am looking for psi. Okay, d psi is portion of flux which is passing through the small surface ds. My intention is to find the total flux psi which is passing through the entire arbitrary closed surface. So how can I calculate that? So my total flux psi will be integral over a closed surface. This is how we write closed integral, right? Integral over a closed surface d psi. So if I integrate this d psi over a closed surface, I am going to get the total flux. So I have to integrate on a closed surface what is q divided by 4 pi ds cos theta by r square. Okay, now to integrate this, we will take help of geometry rather than mathematics. Okay, instead of going for mathematical approach, we will go for geometrical approach. Okay, now so this q by 4 pi looks fine for me, but I need to find what this ds cos theta by r square actually represent. Okay, so now we'll go back to your lower classes. If you go back to our lower classes, we know that the ratio of arc length to respective radii remain constant. Is it not? The arc length to its respective radius will remain constant. So what does that mean? So I'll explain it. What does it mean is, so if you draw arc, okay, if you draw, for example, you have arc here, okay, one arc, okay, this is one arc for you, okay, this is another arc, okay, this is third arc, something like this. Then this is the point from where you have drawn this. So you have taken initial measurement, you have drawn this arc, you have taken another measurement, you have drawn this arc, you have taken another measurement and drawn this arc. So from here the distance to this, okay, is maybe r1, okay, this is r1, and from here to here maybe it is r2, okay, this is r2, and maybe from here to here it is r3. Okay, let us consider that this is r3. Now I have cut these arcs, okay, by two lines, so extending like this, to measure the arc length as S1, S2 and S3. Okay, so as we mentioned, arc length by its radius will be a constant. So what does it mean is, the arc length S1 by R1 ratio will be equal to S2 by R2, which will be equal to S3 by R3, and this will be a constant. That is the idea. Okay, so if you explain it with the dimensions, see here, S is also arc length, R is also length, in the sense S is also length, R is also length. S is arc length, R is the radius by which this arc is drawn, right? So both are length. So if you measure in dimension, this also will be length, this also will be length. So L by L by dimension wise is 1, which is a constant. That is the idea. Okay, now why we are talking about this? What we have in our equation is something like ds cos theta, right? ds cos theta by r square. We have this term in our equation. For a moment, let us forget about this cos theta and let us consider ds by r square. What is this ds? ds is the surface area, the small surface area or infinitely small surface area of the arbitrary surface which we have considered, and r is the length from the charge q inside this surface to the top of the surface, right? That distance is r. So ds by r square is what we have. Whether this is a constant is what we have to check. So we are going to extend this idea of arc length to apply to surface area. I can extend this only because I am considering ds to be infinitely small. Remember that. Okay, so when a surface is very small, okay, when a surface is very small, something like this, then I can consider it as arc, okay, because it's very small. Okay, it can be approximated as an arc. So that is how I am extending this idea to surface. It is not true for any surface, please remember that. Okay, see here surface is very small, so I can approximate it as an arc. That's why I can extend this idea to surface area. So ds by r square, whether it is a constant, let us check. So ds, right, ds is surface area. So for surface area, it is, so usually the dimension will be length square. Okay, length square, agree? If it is length into breadth, whatever, so it will be length square. The dimension, physical dimension of surface area is L square and length is R. R is measured in length, whether it be meter, centimeter, whatever the unit it is. So this L is unit, right? So I have L square by L square itself. So what is L square by L square? Is 1. This is a constant. So I can say that ds by r square is a constant. But listen, I can do this only if this ds is an extension of actual arc. How I draw arc? I keep, okay, if you are physically drawing the arc, you keep your compass point here and using this, you draw the arc. Okay, if you complete this, you will get a circle. Agree? If you complete this, you will get a circle. If you complete this, you will get a circular structure. Right? So that is how we draw arc. Right? Now, but what about this ds? ds is small surface area on an arbitrary surface. Whether that surface is circular in nature? No. So I cannot directly apply this formula in our case. If that closed surface was a circular fellow, we might have applied this directly, but this is not. So my question arises, can we apply? But still we can apply this, but with an approximation. What approximation we have to do? We have to project, okay, we have to project the present arbitrary surface what we have, okay, to a circular surface. Okay, otherwise we have to consider a circular surface itself. But if you take a circular surface and do the derivation or proof, then that will be a proof only for circular surface. It will not be proof for any surface, right? That's why we are taking an arbitrary surface. Okay, now what I am going to do is I am going to project this arbitrary surface onto a circular surface. Let us see how to do that. Okay, so I'll take a small portion of that ds. Okay, if you go back and check the diagram, my circular surface was something like this, right? Something like this, whatever, right? And my ds were somewhere here, whatever, somewhere here maybe, somewhere here. I'll take a different color. So somewhere here was my ds, right? Somewhere here. Now if this was a circular structure, then maybe this will be a circle, coming like this, right? Passing like this, and going like this, right? It will be circular if this was circular. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to project this, right? This is a small surface. I am going to project it onto the circular surface, onto the circular surface. If I project it onto the circular surface, what I get? This surface will look like this. Agree? This surface will on the circular and it looks like this. Is that very clear? Then I can apply this formula. Only then I can apply this formula. Getting? That means if this is ds as we have considered, this will be projection of ds, which will be considered as ds dash. So what I can say is ds dash by r square, ds dash by r square is a constant. Is this. So this is a constant. This I can say. Now we have a duty of finding what is ds dash, because my actual surface is ds. Now I have projected it onto the circular surface, which becomes ds dash. Now we need to find what is the relation between ds dash and ds. For that let me draw this ds dash again. If my ds was something like this, I'll project it something like this. Now this is my actual surface, because I am projecting it onto the surface. Now there is an angle difference, something like theta. Now how to find this theta? So to find theta, let me draw this as two lines. If I draw it as two lines, I'll get something like this. So this is what we'll have. If I extended it to representation of line segment, this I have just projected it like this. This is my actual ds. I have projected it on the circular region, which is my ds dash. So this ds by r square, by general it is L square by L square, but here in this case my ds is not a proper circular surface area. So I need to project it over to the circular surface area. When I am projecting, I mark it as ds dash. So and when I project, there will be a small angle difference between actual ds and projected ds. That angle is represented by theta. Now when I project, so I will be representing this with respect to some plane. So this angle will be 90 degree always. Because I am doing all this magic on a plane of paper, right? Or xy plane or yz plane, whatever it is. So this will be 90 degree. So if I consider cos theta from this triangle, I get cos theta as adjacent side by hypotenuse. So it becomes ds dash by ds. Or from this I can easily write ds dash is equal to ds cos theta. Ds dash is equal to ds cos theta. So if you remember our equation, what we had is psi is equal to q by 4 pi ds cos theta by r square, and just now I found that ds cos theta is nothing but ds dash. So that equation I can write it as ds dash by r square, and this constant will be for ds dash. Please remember ds dash. It will not be true for ds. I hope that is very clear, because ds is not a proper circular surface. Now ds dash is proper circular surface. So ds dash by r square is a constant. Ds dash by r square is a constant, but we have to see what is that constant. Okay, so ds dash by r square is nothing but ds cos theta by r square, and this is nothing but a constant. Okay, so this is a constant. Now what is this constant? Okay, what is this constant? Again, to understand that, so I'll take a portion of the same surface. Okay, same surface, and from some point P, okay, we have drawn this, okay. So it is, you know that this will be a spherical structure, a 3-dimensional structure, but I am explaining it on 2D. So this spherical, this surface, okay, is on the surface of the sphere maybe, okay, because now I have projected ds as ds dash. Okay, enclosed surface is now a circular structure. Let us assume that it is a sphere. So this particular surface will be lying on a sphere. Can you imagine? Please imagine that way. Then the angle subtended by this spherical surface, okay, angles suspended by this spherical surface at this point Q is given by solid angle, okay, d omega. It is known as solid angle. That is a concept of solid angle. It makes some angle, but the angle is 3-dimensional. Okay, it is created by a portion of 3-dimensional body. So such angles are known as solid angle. Hope that is very clear. Okay, so if you take, to understand it better, if you take a square kind of structure maybe, okay, a square kind of structure maybe, then if I extend this to some point, okay, some point, so it will look like this. Okay, if I extend this to some point from all the, okay, angles, all the angles like this, if I extend, okay, can you feel it? Okay, I'll have this 3D structure, right? Then this angle, right, which touches all these 4, that is known as a solid angle. Solid angle. So here it is for small portion ds, right? Here it is for small portion ds dash in this case. So I write it as d omega. So solid angle is actually omega. So for this entire sphere, this becomes omega. So for here it becomes d omega. So this is known as solid angle. Please remember. Okay. Okay. Now how to find this d omega? It will help us, this solid angle d omega will help us only if I have some mathematical expression for d omega. Okay. So let me make it very simple for you. This d omega, okay, by definition is nothing but ds dash by r square. Correct? Ds dash by r square. What is ds dash? Surface area. ds dash is nothing but surface area. So it is a surface area of a spherical structure. Surface area of a circular structure or a spherical structure. What is surface area of a spherical structure in general? In general, what is it? It is 4 pi r square. Is it not? 4 pi r square. So this is nothing but d omega. In our case, it is d omega, right? Usually it is omega. If it is entire surface, it is omega. Okay. So this is basically solid angle omega, right? Because I cannot say that it is only for small area. For the entire surface, this is integral d omega maybe. Okay. Closed surface integral d omega, which is nothing but omega, is nothing but the surface area of the spherical structure divided by r square. Because d omega is ds dash by r square. So omega will be s by r square. S is surface area of the spherical structure. So surface area of spherical structure, you know that it is 4 pi r square. So 4 pi r square by r square. Now this r square cancels. So what I get my solid angle? My solid angle, I get it as 4 pi. 4 pi. Okay. So I'll quickly summarize it before substituting. So what we have done is, we have used the basic law of mathematics telling that the ratios of arc length to respective radius is constant. Okay, keeping that in mind, I understood that S1 by R1 equal to S1 by S2 by R2 is a constant, some constant. Arc length by radius is some constant. So next we checked whether surface area by radius square is similarly constant. Okay, so we have chosen in this particular theorem, we have chosen the surface to be arbitrary in nature, it doesn't have any particular shape. So we projected that to a proper circular shape. So my ds became ds dash, and we find that ds dash is nothing but ds cos theta. Okay, and this ds dash by r square is nothing but solid angle d omega. And for the entire circular area, it will have the solid angle will like ds will add up everywhere, right? So this entire solid angle is given by omega, and this omega is nothing but the entire surface area divided by r square. So entire surface area of the circular structure is given by 4 pi r square. So it is 4 pi r square by r square. So r square cancels. I get solid angle as 4 pi. Now we'll go back and substitute this. Okay, substitute this. So we were trying to find relation for this psi, right? Psi was closed surface integral. Okay, ds dash. Okay, ds cos theta by r square. Q by, I'll rewrite, Q by 4 pi ds cos theta by r square, and we find that this ds cos theta is nothing but ds dash. So we write it as closed integral q divided by 4 pi ds dash by r square. Is it not? Now we understand that this ds dash by r square is nothing but d omega. So we substitute that. Okay, so we get closed integral q by 4 pi ds dash by r square is nothing but d omega. Okay, so here if I consider the charge, because inside charge is to be constant, okay, charge is not going to change during the course of this derivation, right, because q is sitting quietly inside the surface. So this is closed integral d psi. And what is closed integral d omega? So closed integral d omega is nothing but omega. So this becomes q divided by 4 pi into omega. What is omega? Yeah, what is omega? Omega is 4 pi. So I get q by 4 pi into 4 pi. So this 4 pi cancels. I remain with q. So I get psi is equal to q. So I proved Gauss's law using the idea of solid angle. So what does Gauss's law state? Gauss's law says that total electric flux is equal to total charge inside the closed surface. Is it not? That means total electric flux is psi and total charge is q. So psi is equal to q. So we have proved it. Even though it's very lengthy derivation, I hope I did justice, okay, by explaining you each step or explaining you the concept of each step of derivation. Still, if you have any doubt or if I confuse you somewhere during the course of derivation, please feel free to contact me. Okay, we'll look into applications of Gauss's law in coming videos, because we should know where exactly Gauss's law is applicable. Thank you for watching.